What if all bacteria on Earth suddenly increased 10 times? Before we dive into this mind-bending story of survival, science, and a changed world, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more what if explorations. What if the bacteria increased 10 times? It began quietly. On the morning of May 17, 2040, microbiologists in laboratories across the world noticed something strange. Petri dishes that had been carefully observed overnight showed colonies of bacteria far denser and larger than expected. Growth rates were not just faster, they were 10 times faster. At first, scientists suspected errors in incubation, faulty equipment, or contamination. But within hours, reports came from hospitals, water plants, and even kitchens. The invisible microbial world had suddenly accelerated. The first weeks. For the average person, the first signs appeared in the kitchen. Milk soured in less than a day. Fruit grew fuzzy mold overnight. Bread turned into a wet sponge of bacteria before it could be toasted. Restaurants shut down. Grocery stores fought a losing battle as shelves filled with spoiled goods. In hospitals, infections surged. A small cut that once healed in days now festered in hours. Doctors were overwhelmed. Antibiotics, already weakened by decades of resistance, became nearly useless. "We are fighting an enemy that multiplies before our eyes," said Dr. Maria Alvarez in a desperate press briefing in Madrid. Collapse of the modern world. By June, the crisis was undeniable. Public transportation broke down, not because of strikes or accidents, but because bacteria formed thick biofilms on rails, seats, and engines. Elevators jammed as slime corroded their mechanisms. Even airplanes grounded themselves, engines clogged with bacterial sludge, and control panels short-circuited as microbes feasted on wiring insulation. Cities began to stink. Waste systems, overwhelmed by bacterial blooms, backed up into the streets. Tap water turned cloudy, and even boiling it sometimes failed, as new species of heat-resistant bacteria spread. People resorted to collecting rainwater, though even that spoiled within hours. Technology was no safe haven. Smartphones stopped working as bacterial colonies crept into charging ports and processors. "It's as if life itself is eating our machines," wrote a journalist from London before communication networks failed entirely. The human struggle. Humanity divided quickly into three groups: the fighters, governments, and militaries that tried to burn, sterilize, and destroy bacteria with every weapon they had. Ultraviolet cannons, chemical sprays, even controlled firebombing of cities. But no matter how much they killed, the bacteria returned tenfold by morning. The escapist communities that fled to the mountains, deserts, and Arctic regions, where lower temperatures slowed bacterial growth. They built makeshift colonies, living in isolation, avoiding contact with the microbial nightmare of the cities. The negotiators, scientists who believed humanity could not fight this war but must adapt. They began experimenting with engineered bacteria, creating guardian microbes that could outcompete the dangerous strains. Among the negotiators was Dr. Aisha Rahman, a microbiologist from Mumbai. "We have misunderstood our place," she told her small team in a crumbling research facility. "We thought bacteria were pests, but they are rulers of this planet. If they grow 10 times faster, we must become their allies, not their enemies." Turning point. The first breakthrough came not from weapons but from biology. Dr. Rahman's team engineered a bacterial strain that fed on toxic sludge and produced a sweet, edible paste. "Bacteria against bacteria," she said proudly. Communities that adopted her microbes survived longer. They used them to purify water, preserve food, and even build materials resistant to decay. Other teams across the world followed. In Brazil, scientists modified supercharged microbes to eat plastic, clearing oceans in weeks. In Japan, bioengineers designed bacterial shields, living fabrics that could fight off infections by forming a protective skin around the body. Humanity slowly adapted. Instead of steel and concrete, new cities were grown, walls made from bioengineered bacterial mats that resisted decay and repaired themselves overnight. People stopped fearing bacteria as enemies and began treating them as partners, living in fragile harmony. A changed world. 10 years later, Earth was unrecognizable. Forests had exploded in growth, fed by microbial superfertilizers. Oceans shimmered with bacterial blooms that both nourished fish and threatened ships. Human diets changed completely. Traditional agriculture had collapsed, but bacterial protein, engineered to taste like meat, bread, or fruit, kept billions alive. Daily life required new rituals. People wore symbiotic suits lined with protective microbes, not clothes. Houses were living organisms, warm and breathing, cleaning themselves constantly. Medicine no longer relied on pills. Instead, doctors prescribed specific bacterial cocktails that balanced the microbial ecosystem inside each patient. But the partnership was uneasy. In some regions, bacteria reclaimed entire cities, turning skyscrapers into dripping, pulsating ruins. Travelers told stories of red zones, where no human could survive for more than minutes before being overwhelmed by infections. The new balance. Looking back, humanity realized the truth. The planet had never belonged to them. For billions of years, bacteria ruled Earth. Humans had been guests, tolerated because they were small in number. But once humans grew too powerful, perhaps the bacteria reminded them of their place. Dr. Rahman, now an old woman, summed it up best in her memoirs. The question was never about what would happen if bacteria increased 10 times. The real question was whether humans could learn humility and accept that survival meant coexistence, not dominance. We are no longer masters of Earth. We are partners in its living system, 10 times smaller than the smallest rulers. And so humanity endured not by conquering the bacterial empire, but by becoming part of it. And that was just one possible future. What do you think? Would humanity adapt, or would we fall to the microscopic empire? Hit subscribe, drop a comment with your thoughts, and stay with us for more incredible what if scenarios.